They say a mother's voice is the first sound we ever recognize, that it wraps itself around your tiny bones like a lullaby and teaches your heartbeat to follow its rhythm. But I never knew that sound. Not really. Not in the way it's meant to be known. My first memories are silent, not because the world was quiet, but because the voice that should have called me home never did. People underestimate the power of a mother's voice. It's not just the way she says your name. It's the way she answers your fears without needing to be asked. The way her tone can steady your shaking hands or calm the storm in your chest before it even begins. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with absence, with unanswered questions and doorways that never opened. When I was young, I used to imagine what my mother's voice would sound like. I'd watch other kids talk to their moms in grocery stores or at school pickup, and I'd fill in the blanks. I'd pretend I heard that voice too soft, warm, maybe a little tired, but always certain. I imagined she would have sung to me, read to me, told me stories that began with once upon a time and ended with I'll always love you. But imagination is a fragile thing. It doesn't hold up well against silence. Without a mother's voice, you learn to listen to everything else. The hum of the refrigerator late at night becomes company. The way your footsteps echo in an empty hallway becomes conversation. You talk to yourself more than anyone else. And after a while, your own voice starts to sound foreign to like something borrowed. I became fluent in the language of pretending. Pretending I didn't care when other kids made crafts for Mother's Day. Pretending I was okay when a classmate asked, "Where's your mom?" Pretending that I didn't notice the way teachers hesitated before saying parent or guardian. It was all performance, and I played my part well. But pretending doesn't soothe you when you're sick. It doesn't kiss your forehead or bring you water at midnight. It doesn't tell you that you're still good, even when you mess up. It doesn't remind you that your voice matters, especially when the world makes you feel invisible. A mother's voice is supposed to do that. Mine never had the chance. There were times I thought I heard her in dreams, or in the voice of a stranger saying something kind. Sometimes, the wind would pass through trees just right, and I'd imagine it was her whispering through the leaves. It sounds silly now, maybe, but when you grow up without something so essential, you start trying to find it everywhere. In lullabies you never heard, in advice you give yourself at 14 because no one else will, in the way you learn to hold your own hand through grief. Silence, when it lasts long enough, becomes a presence of its own. It takes up space where comfort should be. It fills your chest with questions you're too scared to ask out loud. Why? Wasn't I enough? Did she ever think of me? Would her voice have changed anything at all? But I've learned that not all mothers leave in the same way. Some disappear physically. Others are there, but never truly present. Some speak, but never say what matters. Some are so wounded themselves that their voices are filled with echoes of their own pain. It took me years to understand that her silence was not my fault. That absence is a wound she left, but one I didn't cause. In the absence of her voice, I had to build my own, slowly, painfully, word by word. I taught myself how to speak kindly, even when no one had been kind to me. I taught myself how to self-soothe, how to breathe through panic, how to anchor myself when everything felt like it was falling apart. I became the voice I needed to hear, not because I wanted to, but because I had no other choice. There's a strange strength in growing up without that sound. It doesn't feel like strength at first. It feels like loss, like walking barefoot over broken glass and telling yourself it's just the way life is. But over time, those wounds harden. They don't make you unbreakable, but they make you real. They make your kindness intentional, your empathy sharp, your love when it finally comes in compromising. Even now, I sometimes wish I could hear her just once. Not for closure, not for forgiveness, but for the human ache of it all. To know what her laugh sounded like. To hear how she might have said my name when she was proud. To finally match a voice to a face I've only ever pieced together from memories that don't belong to me. But the truth is, I've become someone without her voice. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the story isn't about what I missed, but what I made in the quiet. Maybe it's about the voice I gave to others when they felt small. The comfort I offered when I recognized someone else was drowning in the same silence I once did. You learn to mother yourself in small ways. You light a candle in a dark room and call it hope. You play a song that wraps around your heart like safety. You write words down that no one ever said to you, and then you read them aloud. You remind yourself, over and over, that you are not what you lack. You are what you chose to build in spite of it. If you're still aching for a voice you never heard, I see you. If you've ever wondered if something's missing in you because you weren't wrapped in that kind of love, you're not alone. The wound is real, but so is the healing, so is the becoming. And maybe, just maybe, your voice will be the one someone else needs. The steady presence in a world that's always been too loud in all the wrong ways, and to quiet in the ones that mattered most. I don't know what it feels like to grow up with a mother's voice, but I know what it feels like to become my own. And in the end, that might be the loudest legacy of all.